Good afternoon and welcome to my open mic session. My name is Mike Allen and a little bit more about me in just a second. I'm going to start actually with one of my most favourite images, in fact one of my favourite ideas from the last year or so. So Felix, how about if we can get you to the edge of space, do you fancy jumping out? I mean, what an incredible idea. It's an enormous amount of innovation that got Felix up there. But really, it started with an idea. And that leads me nicely into something about me. My blog is called Everything Brilliant Starts as an idea. Absolutely everything. And it's everythingbrilliant.co.uk. I'm an innovator. I certainly consider myself to be an innovator. I've launched 2 businesses and numerous products. I speak and I blog about and help organizations innovate. I'm also partnering in an idea management software business, so really understanding the process of engaging people to get ideas, the process of managing ideas, and selecting and implementing ideas. I also walk the talk in that I share all of my ideas online. Why do I do that? Well, certainly because it's a difficult thing to do. It's an unnatural thing to do. The main reason why people don't share their ideas is actually people feel as though their ideas are something like their baby. And you don't give your baby to people that you don't think will love your baby as much as you love your baby. It's a very natural thing. In some ways, it's also quite a narcissistic thing as well. I certainly prescribe that you can invent on your own, but you can't innovate on your own. You need a crowd. But the third one there is probably the most important one, which is that actually it's a recognition or a demonstration that the idea is the first and the easiest step. It's just an idea. So what I'm saying is you can have any of my ideas, any of my ideas. If you're going to do something with them, fill your boots, take them. Innovation is actually about the implementation of those ideas, but more about that in a second. Here's some of my ideas. Now, don't worry, this isn't going to be a presentation to demonstrate how crazy I am. I'm going to broadly put them into kind of broad categories. So, for example, hacked ideas. So if you hack an idea, you take something that already exists and you change the order, you change the utility, you change the purpose, you change the value proposition. So, for example, I don't know, perhaps the tattoo ink industry has been spending millions of dollars every year trying to make ink that fades less quickly, that stays more vibrant. Well, what about ink that deliberately fades? I don't know. Product ideas are much easier to come up with. If you're going to start off by getting ideas, actually thinking about products is a really good example of that. And some of those as you can go to any one onto my blog and look at any of those in any more detail. So the problem-solving ideas. So, for example, when you open your dishwasher and there's a whoosh of hot air coming out, well, surely we can do something with that hot air. Surely there's a way in which we can solve that problem. And one of the wonderful things about innovation is one of the reason I enjoy talking about innovation, because we can make a better world, we can make a better society, we can solve problems. Let's set up some ideas. So it's not a challenge just to prove how crazy my ideas are. A little bit about you. I have developed this presentation. It's about 20 minutes, and I've developed it for you if you work in a mature organization that has an innovation problem. You've innovated, but not consistently and not fast enough. Therefore, this presentation isn't for people with an idea that want to know how to create a startup. I'd really recommend you go looking at some of the writings about the lean startup methodology. This is very much for mature organizations and how you make innovation happen, and a better way of innovating within existing organizations. Innovation. Why is it so important? And it's never had the currency that it has at the moment. I think the last 2 bullet points there I want to mention. What I mean by that, the ultimate human resource, it is the thing that human beings can do. It is the skill and the expertise that human beings can bring to it that machines can't. And also, as much as innovation has never had a greater currency, the speed at which innovation can become obsolete is faster than ever. In some ways, innovation is simple. It's the commercialization of ideas. But of course, it isn't easy. And one of the most powerful examples of that is what's called the innovator's paradox. And so this is particularly if you work within an organization. because the number one reason an organisation might find it hard to innovate is probably the organisation. So the structures and the culture are built to support coherence and coordination and stability, and therefore, by definition, guard against risk and failure and deviation. Of course, those things are essential within innovation. And if you're doing disruptive innovation, it's even harder. And one of the darlings of disruptive innovation is probably arguably no better example than Amazon. And this is what Jeff Bezos has to say about disruptive innovation, because of course he's a serial disruptor. That is, if you are doing disruptive innovation, expect to be misunderstood for a very long time. And another really powerful quote is from this lady, Jocelyn Goldfein. She was with Facebook for an awfully long time. Now she's a venture capitalist. And what she's saying is, the really innovative ideas are roughly indistinguishable from the really dumb ideas. And that's a significant problem. However, disruption is relentless. The crossbow disrupted the bow and arrow, fridges disrupted the ice house, desktop publishing disrupted. We go on and on and on and on. Nothing's changed except the rate at which disruption is happening. But it doesn't have to be a one-way street. When we think of disruption, a good example is EasyJet. So they absolutely disrupted the airline business. We all know that. But in reality, they disrupted the large carriers' ability to make money. And in doing so, they changed the market. So by making it more affordable, they dramatically changed people's ambitions to travel, which in turn dramatically increased the size of the market. So an established player, they could have done that. They could have lowered their prices. They could have made it easier. But of course they didn't, because there was a risk of cannibalizing their revenues and profits to achieve it. And just as iTunes disrupted the business of selling recorded music, guess what? They are being disrupted by streaming music services like Spotify. The sales of iTunes, of recorded music from iTunes is dropping quite sharply, because the way that people want to consume music has been disrupted, and they want to do it in a different way. And there's lots of examples of established businesses that disrupted themselves. It's much harder to find, but absolutely, but there are some really inspiring examples, and I can't think of a better one than the Serendipity Machine. You can download it from that link there. It's a book that you can read on a train journey. It's absolutely fascinating, and it tells the story of actually how that Dutch company seeks to meet disrupted themselves. So they effectively stopped charging for their core product and made it free. I certainly don't have time to describe how to do that. It's a very intriguing and it's a brilliant story, so I recommend you take a look at that. But there's actually lots of other great examples of self-disruption or ish. The one I want to highlight there is the most impressive one, which is Tesla. They make the electric cars, and what they've done is they've opened up their vault of patents around electronic vehicles and battery and motor technologies, because they recognise that actually the more you share that technical information, the faster the market will grow, and the quicker we will start to shift our transport mode from dirty CO2 emitting petrol and diesel cars to electric cars. So it's a very brave and courageous step in terms of self-disruption. We can also think about disrupting the innovation process. So there's lots of different ways in which organizations innovate. Most organizations, and possibly your organization, started with an idea. If we're going to do this better, when we get loads of business, why don't we leave and start our own organization? Most organizations started in that way, and an awful lot of organizations actually don't change that. The senior people come up with the ideas and decide which ideas to run with. An awful lot of organizations, and this is how I make some of my living through consultancy. They get consultants and R&D people to come and help them, external people. The problem with that, of course, remember I said innovation isn't the idea, it's the execution, and it's significantly harder for an external person to come and help you to execute. So I've certainly been in situations where we've identified the strategy, we've identified lots of ideas, we've chosen some very promising ideas, we've kicked off projects. Now the success of their innovation is the success at which they run projects, which is their business as usual, and that's the difference. I'm also involved with that, so they start thinking about getting platforms or where managing ideas, get more engagement from customers and staff to submit those ideas, and keeping tracks and improving the business as usual approach to getting stuff done, implementing projects. There's also a growing trend for open innovation, and that's where actually in some ways you outsource the sourcing and to some extent qualification of ideas to another organization, an external organization that has a platform and have a ready-made network of innovators and idea generators. And then normally that comes as a prize and there's some kind of financial reward for that. And I'm going to suggest, now we get into more of the meat of the presentation, I'm going to suggest there's a different way, which is actually to bring that platform as part of the organization. So you're not actually looking for necessarily for the innovators that are completely external. You're looking for the innovators from within. And that's called entrepreneurship. So it's the pursuit of entrepreneurial behaviours, but in a corporate setting. Now, this isn't a new idea. You would have possibly heard of the Google 20% rule. So an employee has an idea, they've got up to 20% of their working time to pursue it. Gore has a similar thing. Gore has in Gore-Tex the fabric, and actually there are lots of good examples in the large multinational corporates that they are following this entrepreneurship approach. Where is it important? And where is it most beneficial? It's certainly, this model is called the 3 innovation horizons. It's a very valuable model. I've blogged about it quite a few times. It describes actually there are 3 types of idea and innovation. There's ideas from the core, which is actually about optimization. There's adjacent ideas that adjacent to your core, so actually expanding from your core business into another existing business or business models. But really where entrepreneurship should be focused is on the transformational ideas, the breakthroughs. And if you do have idea management systems and there's social type systems, actually they aren't very good at finding those transformational breakthrough ideas. Remember one of the first things I described of the reticence why people don't want to share ideas is because it's their baby. They don't want to share their baby with someone that they don't think loves their baby as much as they love it. And that baby, of course, is just an idea. But if you can't quite describe the idea very well, if you're not quite sure how to make someone fall in love with it yet, and to remember that quote from Jacqueline Goldfine, the problem with really innovative ideas, they look awfully like dumb ideas. That's one of the real problems with that type of approach. Now, you have entrepreneurs in your organization. You probably don't know who they are. They probably don't know necessarily who they are. But how do you find them? And there's 5 traits which I think are the most important. You need someone that is inquisitive, who's inquisitive space. Someone that actually enjoys looking for new ideas and new technologies and new business models. You certainly want someone that has quite a high risk appetite. One of the great barriers, the most prolific barriers to innovation quite often are middle managers. Because of course they go back to, they are paid and they're rewarded to do something very specific, and those things are to lower risk and to improve productivity and not necessarily take those risks. You certainly need someone that's to some extent disagreeable. I really recommend the book David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell. He talks about disagreeability, the person that actually has an idea and will knock over all the barriers that are at first apparent to make that idea a reality. So, and you probably have some idea of those disagreeable people in the business. They do need to be, as well, a mover and shaker. Someone that people respect and someone that people like. And I guess the last of those 5 characteristics is being creative. Now, we can absolutely help you out with helping with using questionnaires to find those kind of characters, but you absolutely have entrepreneurs within the organisation already. What's essential? Well, what's absolutely essential are the conditions that there's a commitment from the business leaders, that they understand it. They understand it's a long haul, and they need to put some money to develop ideas. You also need some level of governance, and I'm going to show you more about that in just a second. And they certainly need some guidance. Now that leads me very nicely to what I call the idea to innovation business model canvas. What is it? Well, it's a description. It isn't a process. It isn't necessarily a bit of software. Software can help, but first and foremost, it's an approach. So there's 4 slides. In the middle, to start off that canvas, we describe an idea. Now already we're putting some barriers in people's way. So tell me the idea, but tell me what the function is, and tell me what the solution is, just how to describe it. And that's the hardest part. And then you can see this diamond, which is a go, no go. So when I talk about the governance of the process, as it were, people can then submit their idea, and then you decide whether it's a Horizon 3 or perhaps a Horizon 2 idea. You determine whether it's an idea the organisation wants to sponsor or wants to understand more about. We then move on to the left-hand side. Now this side is all about moving from an idea to a prototype. And this is really important within organizations, and certainly risk-averse organizations, because realistically, organizations are not going to invest in ideas unless there's a weight of evidence that it's going to benefit the organization. So how does it align to the strategy? And you see the little help button that recognizes that actually the individual, the member of staff, the entrepreneur might not really understand where to go look for that strategy document, and so that we do need to support them by saying, if you need help with this, go and talk to these people. How does it align to the commercials of the organisation? Who's the target user? What will the money make, or what money will the organisation save? What are the key activities? Remember, this is about the key activities are the key resources to build a prototype to test it at this stage. And then we socialize the idea. Now, in reality, you can see it can go back, and actually we may have learned something else about the idea, which means we change the way we describe the function of the idea or what the solution does. And we can go around to the left again, and we can go through it, and then any number of iterations until we move to the next go, no go. And reality, an awful lot of ideas will drop out the bottom, so they will run out of steam. They won't be. The entrepreneur will recognise actually this isn't going to get any further sponsorship. Great, that's fine. That innovation requires a high level of failure and high level of dropouts, but at best, the entrepreneur is better informed about how to make an idea stick within their organisation. The right-hand side of the business model canvas then describes taking a prototype to an innovation to commercialization. And there's another go, no go. So we decide, yes, we are going to prototype this. They build a business case, they prototype it, and then there's another go, no go before we start to build it. And then we commercialize it. Now, absolutely, this is a beautifully designed canvas. So there seems to be a third in the middle, a third on the left, and a third on the right. Of course, in reality, almost all of the work is done on the right-hand side. But it's done on the right-hand side because the organisation has bought into it and is sponsoring it, and is putting money and resources behind it. There's a weight of evidence that is enabling the organisation to do that. And that's the point at which most ideas die. No one really knows who is supporting it and who's driving it forward. Now, you can download this, and you can download a blank version of this from my blog, which is everythingbrilliant.co.uk, and this is kind of free to use. If you want to describe how do you innovate, well, this is how you innovate. Moving to the end, so first steps. If entrepreneurship is something that may be suitable for your organisation to help you on your innovation challenges, what's your first steps? We certainly need to find your entrepreneurs so that I can help you with that. You need to challenge them. You need to give them some opportunity to come up with ideas that suit the organisation's needs. Otherwise, too many of them get flushed out in that very first box. How it aligns to the organisational strategy. You certainly need to support and mentor them, or get them help and support. Most importantly, don't stop. It takes time to do this, but it's a very, very valuable way of approaching it. Final thoughts. Well, connect to me if you want to know more at Brilliant Ideas. You notice there's 2 T's between Brilliant and Ideas, and there's my other contact information there as well. And I was aiming to get to about 20 minutes, and I'm about 20 minutes. So I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and I've certainly enjoyed preparing it.